Well, let's get right into it. Right now, we have a great American that everybody around the world basically has found out about this past probably month. The great Rob ONeill. Rob, thank you for stopping by. We appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Hey, Jay, I appreciate you having me. Thanks for your time. I don't know about the great. I was fortunate enough to be part of a great team, and you're familiar with what it's like to be a part of a great team.
Well, you were, your team went in for anybody that's been living under a rock for the last month and a half and literally not looked at anything in ever. Rob was outed himself as outed himself basically as the trigger man for Osama bin Laden, the guy that we've been hunting down for a long time since the before the 9/11 attacks, I'm sure. But how has your life changed a little bit? I hate to give you the stupid cliche Fox News question, but how has your life changed since you've came out publicly about this?
It's changed quite a bit publicly. Just I'm not used to getting recognized wherever I would go. I'm not used to people knowing who I am, especially not knowing my name. I do give public speeches, and I'll have people who were in the room during the speeches or the auditorium recognize me afterwards. But it's never been a case of, I'm walking through an airport or a hotel, and all of a sudden someone stops me by name. It's been all positive. People that I've run into, that everyone's very patriotic. Just traveling around the country, this whole country's full of very, very good people. It's the only time I've run into negativity is usually on a Twitter handle or someone that hides behind a fake name and has all kinds of tough stuff to say when they're by themselves. But it's been positive. People just saying thanks and very appreciative of what my team and I were able to do.
I can imagine, and that's not real criticism if it came from a anonymous Twitter handle. We all know that. But one of my favorite things that I'd have to say I've read, that I don't know when you said this, but the thing that really made me, I kind of ingratiated you with everyone in the U.S., I hope, is when you're quoted as saying, "Let me know if this is true or not." Before you came out publicly, you said, to make yourself feel better and make other people feel better, you said, just to let you know, just so you guys know, Osama bin Laden died like a pussy. He knew we were coming for him. He knew we were coming to kill him. So did you say that before you came out and let everybody know?
You know what? I believe there were some tapes that surfaced that when I was speaking to, I've learned a lot about being in the public eye, but I've never been in the public eye. And I learned that I'm not a professional at this, and sometimes I mistakenly have talked to people over a beer or whatever, not knowing I'm being recorded, and certainly not giving approval for someone to put something like that. That's not something that I would like to say, but it was me on tape, and he was afraid when we got him, and I'm not ashamed to say that I'm happy he was afraid it was going to happen, and that's what we used to deliver, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of. I think it's an honest thing, and people need to be able to handle that. But so I don't want to ask you all the same things everybody's asked you. I know you've been on a whirlwind this last month, but how about when you got? I just wanted that one exact moment when you got up the stairs and you talked about, and you saw you say I think you turned to an open door to the right and you saw his face. What did you see him through your scope, through your night vision goggles? What was it, and how?
Yeah.
What did he look like?
When I turned to the right, like when the guy in front of me and I went up the stairs, I know the feeling that I had in me wasn't a sense of, oh, here's a bunch of tough guys going to do something brave. It was more of a, we're going to blow up in this next room. Let's get it over with. So we went in there. I turned to the right, and I saw him through my night vision, but I also had an invisible light. He couldn't see it, but I could on his face. So I saw his face for whatever it was between a half a second and a second, where I was able to identify him. Be surprised by how short his beard was. It was shorter than I thought, and see him with his hands on his wife, kind of moving her toward me, a matter of 3 feet in front of me. I was able to see him. It was very fast. I was able to do target recognition and realize he was in fact not surrendering, and he was a threat. I was within my rules of engagement to eliminate the threat. So I shot him in the face 2 times when he was standing up, and then he fell down. I shot him once more.
Man, I know you've told that a few times since you did it, but when you say he had his hands on the shoulders of his wife, I'm sure it sounds like he had multiple wives. Does he push her at you?
He was more. They were moving a little bit. And it's hard to say how fast, just because it was so quick when I saw him. But they were really close to me, and they were definitely the way that I can just put it is they were not attempting to surrender. They were sort of moving towards what I guess would have been noise in the doorway hallway where we were, and it was very dark for them. Like I said, I can't speculate as to what they were thinking, but they were definitely making some sort of a move.
Do you think so? You guys, you came in on helicopters, and I think those helicopters were, I don't know, they were extra quiet or whatever, but they're still helicopters, so you guys crashed one, so they could hear you. But how long from when do you think from when they heard the rotors coming to when you guys got to them? And do you think they had enough time to try to, arm themselves better or strap on vest?
We were assuming they would have time to have vests, and they must have heard us because I was in the helicopter that landed outside, and by the time I got inside, the gunfights that on the first floor of the two buildings had already happened, and they were already over. So they were definitely able to get their weapons and fire back at the team. They turned out not to have any suicide vests or explosives, as far as we could tell, and we didn't find any. But they would have had time for sure to rig them up and have them ready to explode. And by the time I was walking in, looking at the main house off to my left, I was thinking two things as I'm walking past it. One was, man, this is so cool that we're here. And two, I'm amazed this house hasn't blown up yet. But we're still going to go inside and find him.
So from when you guys...
Surreal. We got to figure we were thinking odd stuff because we weren't expecting to live through the night. So it was, unlike most targets, knowing that we're not going to live it, we were thinking just taking in the last few just cool factors, and this is neat, and I'm proud to be here type stuff. So we're thinking a lot of weird stuff up until the point we realized we might live through this.
The ultimate kind of living in the moment, it seems like.
That's exactly
Do you think that helped you guys out on your mission, that you basically, in your mind, you've said it, that it was you guys were all looking at it as a suicide mission, like you weren't coming back? Did that give you like the ultimate freedom to let go of all the consequences and just go do your job?
Well, it wasn't even let go of the consequences, and it wasn't fear is healthy, and it's okay to be afraid. And I'm not saying I was or wasn't afraid, but it's something that makes you focus a little more. And it's not panic; it's just fear and more of an acceptance. Like when I didn't do anything the entire mission. I followed really cool guys, watched them do really cool stuff. And at the very end, I turned to the right and did something cool. And that's all it was. And I went into that room just with the acceptance that this is going to be it. Let's get it over. Let's see what happens. And then all of a sudden, it's over. The house didn't blow up. The lights come on, and we've killed Osama bin Laden. It's like, okay, let's take 10 minutes to get some stuff, and maybe we can live to see tomorrow.
Now, after you shot him, did you guys continue to move through the house, or was that it? Like, bam, target acquired, you called him up? Called you guys, your buddies, and said, let's grab everything and go? Well,
after I shot him, I still had a few things to deal with. I still had to when I shot him, obviously he dropped his hands off his wife. I had to move her to the bed that was in the room to make sure she was out of harm's way. And then there was his son, who was about 2 years old, was in the room. And you know what it's like being a father. I went to grab the kid just to make sure that he was okay. I brought him over, and he was safe. And then after that, we had all secured. The other SEALs had come into the room. It was secure. That target, the house was secure. Then we have more stuff to do. We need to find intelligence. But it was at that point for me, with all the targets being having been dealt with, that's when it's kind of sunk in for me, and I had to stand there for a minute. And I had to ask one of my friends, what do we do now? Because just being in the moment of realizing I just shot Osama bin Laden. And he kind of smiled at me and laughed and put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, now we go find the computers, bro. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I'm back. Let's do it. But we still had work to do. We still had, just securing the target is one thing, then finding the other stuff is the next, and then getting home with the intelligence is the next.
Now, do you have time in that moment to think, to pay attention and listen, because you had to think that the Pakistanis were coming, like the Pakistani government or their military or whatever, Pakistani police were going to come with all the ruckus. Did you have time to, I don't know, be aware of what was happening outside of the compound?
Well, we had a few guys outside of the compound, and we had arranged in our timeline what we thought would be a proper response time for them to get there. So we knew we had a certain amount of time, which was about 10 minutes, to get as much stuff we could, get everyone on whatever helicopters and leave. Just because the best way to deal with the Pak military and the Pak police was just to avoid them altogether, because we're not at war with them. We knew that they wouldn't know we were there, and there was no point in getting a gunfight. We figured as long as we could leave without seeing them, which is what we did, it would work out fine, which it did, other than them being a little bit embarrassed.
Now, do you think that those many people in Pakistan knew that bin Laden was staying there?
It's hard for me to say if they knew, but I find it hard to believe that they didn't know.
Yeah, wasn't his compound one of the biggest things around?
scale neighborhood. I think it was the biggest one there, yeah, and it definitely was just awkward with the way the walls were built, the different places where there were, driveways and certain, different walls, different barbed wire, burning the trash inside. There's something going on. It might be a culture where they just think maybe it's some foreigners that are selling opium and no one wants to know who they are, no one asks. It could be that too, but someone had to know something. There was a Pakistani intelligence officer living a few hundred meters away. I mean, they claim to know everything in the country. So, I mean, I'm assuming someone knew. I can't say they did. I mean, it'd be silly if they didn't, though.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's crazy to think this. When us Americans saw everything on TV and they showed the compound, we're like, man, that seems to stick out a bit, and we're just seeing tiny little snippets of it. But do you think bin Laden he couldn't have been making any kind of public appearances or leaving that compound much, could he?
I'd imagine he wasn't. I think that he stayed in there. I think he stayed in there the entire time. I think he was running the show as far as Al Qaeda, just based on, he was a very crafty guy, a very smart guy, and I think he was just sending out messages through different types of media. We hear reports that there was like pornography found in the compound. There was, but I'm assuming there was stuff encrypted inside of it, and it's just something he's leaking out to his guys. Yeah, but I don't think as far as appearances, he was taller than I am, and that's just rare for that part of the world to see someone, he's about 6'4".
Man, what do you say when all these conspiracy guys come out and say, "Oh, I'd been dead for 15 years. It didn't happen. Whatever. They might have killed somebody." What do you say to those guys?
It's funny to be involved with to actually do stuff where there are conspiracy theories, because I've been in a couple of them. I've been involved with the lone survivor. There was a helicopter that was shot down a few months after August 6, 2011, and they said like President Obama shot the helicopter down, and it was all SEAL Team 6. It was on the mission, so they can't talk. And I know for a fact Osama bin Laden was killed in his bedroom, because I saw him when I shot helicopter was on the mission, because I knew them all. And it's just bizarre. People come up with weird stuff, and to see it firsthand and hear other people talk, I can't even give it. I can't give it any credibility, because I know the truth, and some of it I can't prove. But it's so ridiculous to me. It's like, what's the point? It doesn't matter. These people will believe anything.
Yeah, the internet's a scary thing when it comes to stuff like that. I'm with it. And the thing is, that with technology and how things are going, you can't really hide anything. I think they were, after the fact, they found some kid in Pakistan was tweeting something. Wow, loud noises, choppers coming around, like when you guys were coming in or you guys landed, I guess.
Yeah, I saw a guy tweeting as we were getting out. We were waiting for our helicopter, and he was on sort of a balcony, maybe less than 100 meters from us, and I could see his face being lit up by his own cell phone. And it was just, like, in different environments, Iraq especially, if you see someone near a target where there's been shooting and you see a cell phone out, you need to further investigate, because he might be setting off a bomb. But just being there, that never even entered my mind, because it's like, this guy has no idea what's going on. He's like texting a friend or something. And so that happened. Like there was people going on, but we were able to get in and out so fast that it didn't make sense to them.
The kid was probably swiping his Tinder account and looking for local Pakistani girls. And all the while, you guys are 30 yards away, dragging bin Laden's body to the chopper.
I hope you don't mind that I steal that story. I'm using that. It was Tinder all the way.
That's like the definition of not being in the moment and not like looking up to observe the world. Like that kid right there, probably he could have filmed you guys getting on the chopper. Anything he saw history being made, most likely, and there's probably a good chance he was trying to get his one of his side girlfriends to stop by the house in a little bit.
He could have had the best footage in the world, and he'd pass it up.
It's a shame. It's a powerful thing, man. Guys are crazy. That's for sure.
Guys are driven by just a few things. That's one of them.
That and guns and war. So you got them all in that one instant.
Yeah, exactly.
So the thing that was crazy to me is, I know you said you got in, so they let you in the front door or whatever it was. I know, and they're already engaged with some targets. Say boom, you said you got 3 shots in bin Laden. When you guys decided to go grab the computers and grab everything you can, you get him, you put him in a body bag as well. Do you take the other guys with you too that were killed?
No, we only wanted to bring him out, and the reason was we were going to put his body on a helicopter, take some DNA evidence with, like a syringe type thing, and put that on the other helicopter, knowing that once we left, if one got shot down, we would have redundancy on the other. So we'd have his DNA on both. So that's why we brought his body out. Also, just for the physical ID, so that the people that were following for so many years could get a look at him as well and identify that this is the guy. But, this is obviously the biggest target in recent history, and we wanted to make 100% sure we had the right guy.
So the other people, when you guys left, you left the chopper that crashed, and you guys, don't you blow that one up?
Some explosives on it. And we blew it in the front yard, assuming we would be able to get rid of all of it. Obviously, part of it didn't the explosion, so that was left behind.
Okay, and do you think all those local, or who came in and like locked down the compound when you guys left? Do you have any idea, or did the locals just run in and I'm sure they heard the news, they figured out eventually what happened? Did they just overrun the place?
I'm not even sure. The pictures that were taken soonest after the mission, it looked like Pac Police and Pac Mill, and I'm assuming that they coordinated up. I mean, if they did know, not all of them knew. It was obviously they thought either a local scene, so they did a pretty good job of blocking it off. And what they did afterwards, I don't know. I know one reporter that got in there was able to see the house itself, and so they I don't know what they did. I can only speculate.
What do you think of the decision to dump his body in the ocean?
I think it was a good idea for a number of reasons. One, it goes with his faith, and regardless of what we believe, that's important to a lot of people. Two, we were able to get rid of him without leaving a shrine behind, so nobody can go to his shrine and make that a place, a holy place. And three, he's gone. It just is over.
And I know there was some fake photographs that came out shortly afterwards of him. I'm sure you knew right away, obviously. And was that? I don't know how I feel about the decision to not show the photograph too. Did you feel the same way about the photograph as you did the body, that we just don't show it?
I had a different personal feeling of what we should do with the body. They didn't do it. They did what they did. As far as the photographs, I don't think people need to see it because they're graphic. I mean, he's a man that was just shot in the face 3 times at close range, and I know people want to see it because there's a natural curiosity and even a sense of closure for people like conspiracy theories. But just because of what it would do around the world, I can assure you he's dead. The people in the right place, the government saw it. He is dead. They know it, and it should be left at that. But as far as the pictures that come out, I look at them. They look nothing. The people that are clever enough with Photoshop to make a picture of a guy like that don't know what it's like to look at a guy that actually got shot 3 times in the face. It's different than Hollywood. It's different than those Photoshop pictures. It's very, very graphic, and it is what it is.
Yeah, it shouldn't. Probably, I think it's true. We wouldn't be able to unsee those things, and we're not guys like us. We're not used to it. We haven't served in over 200 combat missions like you, and I'll spent 16 years in the SEALs. So you guys have been around it enough. We haven't. What about that girl? What about the CIA girl? Is she as the movie Zero Dark 30? Obviously, she plays a huge role. Was she as involved as the movie makes it out?
I think that the team was made up of a small group of women, and I think that character represented both the group, but also her. And yes, she was. I personally, with my dealings with her, they couldn't have done a better job as far as how smart she was, how prepared, how dedicated. You couldn't say that enough about her, and just her confidence. Like I'm not so sure it's an exact quote, but she said to me, "If you want to kill him, he is on the 3rd floor of this building, 100%." And she never wavered. She knew it.
And I've read where you said you gave your spent magazine with the 3 lethal shots gone from it. Did you give that to her after the mission?
I did. I did. The point man and I talked about it, and it was his idea. The guys in front of me up the stairs said, "You need to give her something." And he's like, "How about the magazine?" And so I went over to her and I asked her, "Do you have room for this in your backpack?" And she said yes. And actually, it was funny about her, just to describe a discrepancy with the movie. Is in the movie they brought her over to the body, and she looked at it and kind of walked away and sort of cried. That's not her style at all. I walked her over and said, "Is this your guy?" And she looked down and with an a cuss word I'm not going to use, she looked down and said, "Well, I guess I'm out of a job." That was it. She's like, "That's what I came to do. It's over."
Is she still in the CIA?
I don't know. I I haven't. I only talked to her one time, one or two times after that, and that was it. It's one of those things in this line of work. Sometimes you go your separate ways and don't reconnect. And same with a lot of SEALs too. Just people, either they stay on the train and they keep moving, or they get off and the train keeps moving without them.
Okay, because that I can't think of the girl's name, the actress's name, but she did a great job in the movie, I think. What do you think of that movie?
Jessica
Chastain.
Mm-hmm.
Is how's that movie hit you? Do you like that movie Zero Dark 30?
I liked it. I was excited to see it come out. I thought it was, I wasn't. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought it was brutal to the point where some people need to realize that not everything is all hugs and kisses and political correctness. As far as the SEALs in the movie, 20% good job. They didn't have their tattoos. Kind of sucked. They seemed kind of dumb. SEALs are smarter. They're more articulate. Like Jimmy, just funny dudes that know how to work collars and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought the movie was good. It was definitely entertaining. It was had me on the edge of my seat. I mean, believe me, that thing is as a kid, I've grown up watching all kind of war movies. It's good, but I also know not to take them as exact reality, because every time you talk to a guy that's lived through things like that, everyone always said, "Hey, that's Hollywood, man. It's not like you. It's not like they make it out to be." I think. But just to take you back to the night when you shot bin Laden, I remember I was in my house in our condo back in Ohio, and they announced something like big news coming up in the next 30 minutes or whatever. I'm sure people have told you where they were when they heard the news. Yeah. And we're thinking, I remember my wife started thinking, and she's like, "Man, I bet they got bin Laden. I bet they did." And then the president came on, told the story, told your story, basically said we got him. And I remember I'm sitting there, and this is a theme that always comes up, it seems like, in my podcast, like how weird everything is, how weirdly connected everything was. And the second Obama said that you got him, I was telling my wife, I'm like, man, I hope that guy comes out. I hope whoever shot him gets to come out publicly someday. I honestly thought that. I was like, it sucks. They're probably not going to let him, but man, we need to know. I wish the whole team would come out, and here I am. You're here, and I'm talking to you. Nice. So what a weird thing, man. That's going to be the theme of my podcast, probably, how weirdly connected we all are. So you did that for me.
I mean, just the chances that we met, because I happened to be getting a tour, the trainer's office, and he was just explaining. Pepper was talking to me about bullets and stuff, and we started to get on that. And then you came in with Aaron, and we just talked for a second and took a picture, and then we were able to exchange information. It's just fun. It's little things like that. It's small world,
It's very small. And just to give a little story that we talked about before I hit record here, you came in and you were in town giving a speech, and you were you were in our trainer's office in Green Bay, and I'm like, man, are you allowed to talk about what you've done? How do you give a speech talking about like your missions and everything? Is everything public? And you said, yeah, I can pretty much talk about everything. It's all good. And you said, as I was leaving, you're like, there's one thing that's about to come out that that I can't say anything about yet, but you'll find out soon. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I just thought about it, and then it was like 3 days later that I kind of heard through back channels that you were most likely that you were the shooter, and then all of a sudden, boom, your Fox News documentary thing comes out. And I was like, this is it. This is his thing. I'm like hitting my wife. I was like, this is it. He told me there's one more thing.
That's got to be the thing. That's funny, isn't it?
I was hoping that's the thing. I'm like, yeah, there's nothing bigger than this. It better be that one thing.
Well, there's got to be something I'm missing then, right?
yeah, exactly. And I've seen a little bit of clips of your speaking gigs. You're great with that, man. I really have enjoyed I haven't got to see you live.
No, those are just more, lessons learned on team building and just what we learned in training for combat and stuff like that, and how to work together. And everybody wants to hear the big bin Laden story, but I'm like, that story's kind of been told. I'm telling you about real lessons they're more fun and they're more applicable, and
about leadership and everything. It seems like our two of our couple guys from our equipment room went and saw it, and they came the next morning. I wasn't able to go, and they came. And they're like, man, this was amazing. And this was a couple weeks before we found out you were the shooter anyway, but it didn't matter. You're still amazing speaker and have awesome stories. I know that.
I mean, it's all applicable. At the end of the day, everything's about getting along with each other. If you don't get along with your teammates, you're going to suck, because I would just respect. The whole respect is earned, And if you respect each other, you're going to get respect back. It's that simple. And the way I put it, like, nobody ever worked for me. They work with me. Let's all move forward together, and we're going to win together. So, and we, just a bunch of normal dudes that understand how to do that. And we were able to do a lot of good stuff.
Tons of good things. And you 16 years. You were a SEAL for 16 years?
Yeah, just under. I was in the Navy technically for 16 years and 8 months, and it took me about a year to become a SEAL. So, right about 16 years.
Did you go in with that was it? It was SEAL or nothing?
Yeah, I went with that in my contract to get a guaranteed chance to try out, and then that made it. Then I was given orders to the selection course, which is about an 8-month selection course, which is the one on Discovery Channel and stuff. And that's the 80% of people make it through that one. So that was a cool time though.
Yeah, that's cool. Hardest thing on the planet to do, but yeah, that's cool. I talked to Chris, 10-year SEAL Chris Cassidy. I don't know if you know him at all, but he's an astronaut now, and he came to a game a couple weeks ago.
I know who he is.
Okay, good. And he, so SEAL turned astronaut and been in space a few times, and he just ran an Ironman in Hawaii, and
wow,
all that, which is just ridiculous. And I remember asking him, I was like, "Well, was it? How did it compare to your SEAL training?" And he's like, "It didn't really compare. It wasn't really nearly as hard." He's like, "Because I knew there was an end point. I knew we were ending." He said,
yeah."
So that's got to be the mind games your instructors and guys play on you have to be just brutal, aren't they?
Well, that's the way that's a great way to describe it, because I remember being there, 19 years old, basically in my prime, but I'm like, I know I have a past because I sort of remember it, but I have no future. I'm going to be in hell forever. And it was like little mind games. Like they take you on a long run, like run whatever, 4 miles down the beach one way. You come 4 miles back, so it's about to end because you see where the start point was. And then another instructor comes out. That one leaves. You run another 4 miles that way. It's like, Jesus, what are we doing here? No time limit, no distance, just hell.
Then jump in the ocean and swim in the cold ocean for however long.
Oh yeah. Then make a wind dummy so you can dry off, and then back in the ocean.
I saw a video that you've shown on a little bit of your talks when you guys jumped out of the planes for the Captain Phillips Somali pirate raid. Can you talk about that a little bit? That was awesome, by the way. You guys jumped a boat out the back of a plane. Yeah,
we went actually with 4 boats. We brought. We weren't exactly sure what we were gonna. The big thing is never have a perfect plan. Just always be prepared. Have a bunch of plans. And so we brought a bunch of different boats, a bunch of different guys, because something can change at the drop of a hat, and we need to have people in place to do stuff. So we brought it, but we knew our method of entry, which is going to be to fly from Virginia to the Indian Ocean in about just under 16 hours and have 100 operators there ready to go. And so I went from my kids' preschool classroom on my birthday, Good Friday, April 10th, 2009. And later that day, we're in the Indian Ocean rescuing an American. We got him on Easter Sunday, that Sunday. And the snipers just shot because they were in place to make sure nothing unsafe happened. We didn't, regardless of what the movie said, we didn't jump in there just to shoot these guys. We put snipers down for security with the understanding that something unsafe happens, they'll take care of it. They were in Virginia Beach 3 days prior to that, and their guns didn't need to be sighted in for the hardest shot they're ever going to take in their lives, but their guns were sighted in because they were prepared. And that's just, we took it that seriously, and it saved the guy's life,
Yes, it did. That movie as well. How'd that movie treat you, too? Did you like that one?
I love that movie. I thought it was great. There wasn't enough time to make it very accurate, but Tom Hanks, I think, did a great job playing Richard Phillips. The producers or whomever made the SEALs look really good. It was very fast, very intense, and the shots were very quick, which is the way it worked out. And what I liked the most about it was as soon as it was over, they put up their bipods and their guns and they left. That's all they did. And I remember talking to one of my friends who was the lead sniper, and I said, "You realize that you've just done the most important mission in the history of the SEAL teams," which at the time he did. And his answer was, "Yeah, can we go home now?" Didn't even care. Just wants to go home.
That seems to be like the underlying theme with you guys. All you, especially SEALs, a lot of special ops guys where that's just what you do. It's like you were born for this. This is your job. You guys have prepared so long that it's like, I think it seems like everything. Would you say the actual missions sometimes are easier than the preparation?
There's no question about it. The preparation itself and the training, we try to make it we tried to think of worst case scenario, what we're going to come up against. And when we got there, I mean, our opponents were really, really weak, and they couldn't. You know, even these guys now that are ISIS, we fought them for years in Iraq when we called them Al Qaeda in Iraq, and they were just, no matter what they did, they were never ready for us. Our plans were better. We were better fighters than them, better shots than them, and our training was harder. War was actually a good training tool to make our training better.
That's a good. I like that. I might have to.
I need to write that one.
I might have to write that one down too. Not as me as
that's still good.
Put your name under it, Rob ONeill. But yeah, I like that. Put it in my phone under the notes section. That's what I think is something I always seem to find that's crazy with people that operate at a super high level, no matter what the job is. It's like you guys, you prepare so much that it's like your instincts just take over and it's second nature, and it seems like it's muscle memory when you go through things. Was that, I know supposedly through the movie you guys built a mock-up of bin Laden's compound and all that stuff. Did you guys, how long did you supposedly train on that before you actually went in?
We trained in 2 different sites for about a total of 10 days. So like 5 and 5. It was nice to have it just because when we were there, we knew every single part of the exterior and what to expect. We could have gone on the mission that day without even training for it, just based on our tactics and what we'd come up with. But I mean, it definitely helped to work it out and talk about different bugs. It was good. But yeah, we were really good at communicating with each other, and that was the key to our success. Without talking too much, we knew what one was going to do, what the other was going to do, and just based on like a physical position, not a rank position. Whoever had the best vision could make the call. So we were ready to do it. And our training did that. It was years and years of training, years and years of combat that we were prepared for all that stuff.
I would say that's the ultimate trust you could have in somebody when you when you trust you guys each other with your lives. Was there 23 of you? Is that right? That went in?
I think there was about 20. I think there was 21 SEALs or 22 SEALs, and then a bomb guy, and then we had an interpreter.
You guys take any dogs in?
We took one dog. Yeah, we took one Belgian Malinois in.
Oh yeah,
and he was there for.
I got a Malinois.
He was there for. Do you really?
Oh yeah, female. Yeah, she's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, they're nuts. That's part of what makes them great.
Oh, I have a Malinois and a German Shepherd. A German Shepherd's about 90 pounds male. Malinois is about 55, super lean, and dominates him.
I'm sure.
They're
tough dogs.
Nuts, man. She bites so hard. It's amazing. She's a great dog. She's trained up. So yeah. Oh, if anyone wants to come on over, she's waiting for you. That's a great segue. Actually, I just somehow fell into a segue into a question I'm sure you're sick of hearing. But don't you feel for your safety now that you're out?
Yeah, I've been aware of it since I got out. I'm prepared for it now. I don't get into the details, but I have stuff in place that I'm able to protect myself. But the whole reason I did come out was to help families that were directly affected by 9/11, and that was I've assumed the risk right now is worth it because it's bigger than me. If I can help them, the risk is worth it. I've assumed risk before. I'm willing to do it again, and I've been fighting these guys for a long, long time, and I'm prepared.
You're comfortable. You're comfortable in your chances, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
When I remember when I heard that you were coming out, that's what a lot of people's first thought was, man, these crazies are going to come for him. But I think when it comes down to it, I've listened to you talk about you can never protect yourself from the 1 or 2 lone wolf crazies, that run into a temple and stab somebody or whatever that we see happen every once in a while. But there's no way that like ISIS people, more than 1 or 2 lone wolves could get over here and actually fight us, would they?
No, there's not a chance. If they came over here it's ridiculous. The people, they talk tough because they're trying to find the person that's almost off the edge of the cliff crazy, and then they'll do it because they feel accepted by something. And again, if I get hit by one of those, it is what it is, and it happens. But no, for them to try to to raise a flag over the White House, like they're I mean, we already know they're nuts, but this solidifies it. They have no idea what they're talking about. And they know, what's funny about them too is they know that if we send guys back over them, they're going to do the exact same thing they always do. They're going to put the ladies' clothes back on, pretend to be women, hide amongst the locals, and that's just what they do. They're not real fighters.
So they actually dress as ladies and hide like that?
Yeah, they knew that if they dressed as women by the time they came out of the house, Once we discovered they were men, they were too close and unarmed, so there was no way they had to fight us. We would just arrest them.
Jeez, would they dress as ladies and then try to sneak attack you and ambush you?
Sometimes they would, but we'd have people in place to be watching. A dude comes out dressed as a woman. He's a little taller, and you kind of have your eye on him, and then they try to pull something. And it didn't work. Every time I saw it, didn't work out well for him.
How do you draw that line, or how do you guys deal with that fact that this isn't like, it's like, I don't know, you're going house to house, breaking doors down. How do you guys figure out who's a friendly, who's not,
Well, it's, what I found in my experience was the innocent people acted just like that. They act innocent. If you go to someone's house and they don't expect you, they're going to be scared. They're going to be surprised. They might act up a little bit, but they're not doing anything shady. The shady people hide. The people, when you ask this woman outside if the house is clear and she says yes, and you go inside and someone's hiding in the closet, they're probably a bad guy. If you see a woman or a man dressed under a burqa, he's probably a bad guy. It's that whole thing. The innocent people were, we got to figure, we ran into innocent people. 97% of the people we ran into were innocent. We just knew how to deal with them and just dealt with them as human beings, and we did our best not to avoid collateral damage. Because I saw night after night that we are in fact the good guys, and I was never worried about that. And it's the guy that comes out shady trying to be a hero with the AK-47. He gets dumped and it's over.
Is the vast majority of them over there happy to see you guys?
Yes. The problem is they know that when we leave that we're gone and the bad guys are still there, and they need to deal with that. So it's more of they're just the innocent people are just trying to survive. And as we're seeing it now in Iraq, we left and now the innocent people left behind, the bad guys are back and they know who helped us. And hopefully it doesn't happen again in Afghanistan, but I think it probably will. It's a tough spot for the innocent people, and there's a lot of innocent people over there.
I talked about this with with Jimmy Hatch a little bit. If we go over somewhere, say our military, you guys go over there and you stabilize as much as you can, you get as many bad guys out as you can. Nothing's keeping those bad guys that were hiding in women's clothes while you guys there from coming right back over and overrunning these innocents, are there?
Well, I mean, it's a case of at some point the locals need to stand up for themselves, and we do need to leave, but it takes time, and we need to make sure they've got people in place that believe in what they're fighting for. We left a little bit too early in Iraq. I'm not blaming one administration or the other. There were good decisions and bad decisions made, on both ends. Right now, we have the ability in Afghanistan to make sure that we just keep stuff in place to make the Afghans fight for their own country, and a lot of that comes just a lot of division with different tribes, different valleys, different regions, and ultimately, though, it's up to them. I don't personally think we're ever going to be able to instill a democracy in a lot of other parts of the world because they just don't want it.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, we can go over there and do as well as we can, but I don't know. I don't know what. I don't claim to have any answers, but it just seems like the bad guys will always just come back out of the caves and wherever they've been and threaten the people that have talked to you guys when you're coming just to get some info or whatever, think you're helping. So I don't know. Hopefully that I don't know. We'll see. I don't claim to know anything about that, but when the thing about getting back to your whole Bin Laden thing, to be a broken record for you, I'm sure that's what you're doing every day, people trying to get you to do interviews and talk about that. So even doing one of the biggest things in the history of the world, in history of this country, I'm sure you'd still get sick of repeating yourself. But with him, what were these stories? Remember there were stories about him being on dialysis and barely able to walk and all that? Did you see any of that?
No, there was none of that, and I wasn't part of the intel gathering, but I think all that was just made up, just to see who knew what. I didn't see any of that there. I never believed in it myself. And again, there are people that are smarter than me that know the truth of all that. I don't really know much about it.
I'm sure you've seen. It was. Where did you guys? Were you guys one of the guys that got that picture of Bin Laden? Wasn't he sitting all hunched up, watching a little TV of himself?
I'm assuming that was found in the compound. We didn't have time to go through any of this stuff. We just kind of split it up and gave it to the people that know how to analyze things. I'm assuming that was one of the videos that they filmed to him just out of boredom with nothing else to do in that house.
Yeah, it had to be a terrible life for him. Yeah, he might be running some things from in there, but if you can't leave, you're stuck in this compound. The whole world is after you, is coming to get you. The tip of the spear, like you guys are searching for him every single day. Man, he had to have a lot of anxiety, man. Had to be looking over his shoulder a little bit, I'm guessing.
I think he was too. I mean, imagine I heard rumors of him sending letters to his kids saying, "Don't get involved with Al Qaeda." And I don't know if that means he stopped believing in his ideology, or he just didn't want them to live the way he was living. But that that was something I read. I can't quote it because I forget it, but I know that was out there somewhere.
And wasn't at least one of his sons killed in the raid?
Yeah, his son Khalid was killed on the stairs on the way out.
So he was. Didn't you say he was the last line of defense before his dad?
Yeah,
how old?
What analysts said. Yeah, I think he was in his 20s.
Okay, and is that the one where you said your point man called his name or something in Farsi?
Yeah, he called his name, and he whispered in two different languages, "Come here." I think in Pashto and Arabic, and said his name, and he kind of confused him. And he kind of presented himself with a weapon, and then he was eliminated. It was a very smart move on the guy's part. Like I said, I follow cool guys and watch them do cool stuff, and that's one of the coolest things I think the top two coolest things I've ever seen was stuff he did. That guy.
That guy.
Yeah.
Didn't they say? Was it you that said these bitches be truculent or something? Is that real? I hate to bring up things that you were you like.
I'm
were
pretty
you
sure
secretly recorded or something?
In the heat of the moment, I'm pretty sure I heard that, and I don't think that word means what we think it means, but I just distinctly, for some reason, remember that, and it was a very tense, high stress moment. So I'll give everyone the benefit out there.
Yeah, hey, whatever happens. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't know. You must have been like recorded, or someone acting as you secretly recorded you. That's illegal, though, man. You can't do that. They can't record you. That's like Donald Sterling's girlfriend. Remember, she recorded him. Got him in trouble.
Yeah, right.
Like Mel Gibson's girlfriend, remember?
None of the knows what that word means.
Nothing good comes out of people being secretly recorded. I know that much.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
I remember those Mel Gibson tapes with his girlfriend. I don't know if you heard those. Man,
he got there, didn't he?
Whew. He's a scary dude. He's intense. Whew.
Yeah.
Man, when you were expecting all those guys, or all Bin Laden and everybody in there, you're expecting the compound to blow up. And I know when you're saying, because I've talked with Jimmy Hatch about this, the same. He's saying ISIS and these fighters, these guys, they're cowards. A lot of them, they're pushing women in front of themselves to protect themselves. Now, but when I hear you guys say that you expected them to have vests on, in my eyes, I'm thinking they're too big of cowards to even blow themselves up. Is that not the case?
Yeah, it seemed like obviously this was the most high-value target I'd ever been on, but it seems like the other high-value targets, they're always big on preaching for people to put vests on and martyr themselves, but when it came to it, they never would. It always seems like they didn't want to. It just says a lot about them that they can, do what I say, not what I do type stuff. And we've seen that before, and especially on the biggest target. Like we assume the entire house will blow up because that's what they preach.
That had to be I can't imagine what that feeling was like. Obviously, flying in the choppers there, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, talking to you guys, talking to some super high level guys like you and Jimmy, Chris, and Jay Redmond, everybody. It's like you guys were there firsthand, so you've seen it. Is our perception of these guys, of ISIS and all these people, is it skewed because of TV? Like we see them in their robes and they're black and cutting people's heads off, and we think these guys are warriors. People think that they're these tough guys, but in reality, it's the complete opposite, isn't it?
They're definitely not tough guys. They're good at propaganda. They're as psycho as they seem, and they will cut people's heads off with their hands tied behind their back, obviously. But having seen, if you meet them on a field of battle, they're going to, at best, hit you when you're not looking and run away as fast as they can, dropping their weapons. They're good at fighting people that aren't going to fight back. They've done a good job of scaring people, but they're not tough guys, not even close. Was
that pretty apparent as soon as you guys got over there and got into some combat?
Yeah, you couldn't even get them to fight you. Their only weapon was an improvised explosive device. They blow people up and then they're not even around. That's it. They don't fight toe to toe.
Do they know what your guys' rules of engagement are, and they know what they can and can't get away with?
Yeah, they know we have rules on ourselves that we're the only ones that follow, and they know we have to follow them, and they still try to take advantage of it, and we still don't violate our rules of engagement. We even treat them as if they fell under the Geneva Convention, because, like I said, we're the good guys, and they're not.
That has to be a crazy thing, this whole rules of engagement thing, because you guys, do the same rules apply to you guys, like as special, special ops guys and special forces?
Yeah.
Same rules?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all blanketed. There's certain these and that's and do's and don'ts. Mm-hmm.
So supposedly you're supposed to be fired upon before you can fire at them?
I think technically at least what it was when I was there, was we had to feel a physical threat. And that doesn't necessarily mean being shot at, but that means like you're in an awkward position. There's someone making a move on you. You can see people maneuvering around you. And you feel a certain threat, then you can defend yourself. But I mean, they're good and they're bad. It does avoid a lot of needless shooting. But our guys were at a point where the more freedom we were given, the more precise we were, and we never hurt anybody innocent. And hey, I don't mean to cut this short, but I need to jump off. I have one more call to take here at the top of the hour.
No big deal, man. I really appreciate you for coming on. This is awesome, man. You're super generous. I know you're crazy busy, so yeah, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
And let's do this again. This is fun, man. I'm just in the middle of a bunch of stuff right now.
Yeah, no worries. I know. Hey, you're one of the busiest men in the world right now. For a reason. You're a true hero. So Rob ONeill, I really appreciate it. I'll definitely, anytime you can, would love to have you back on. But thanks so much, man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Absolutely, we'll be in touch for sure, man.
Thank you for joining in. Please visit thehawkcast.com, where you can discover the next guest, get a little more information about why this exists, watch past episodes, or link over to iTunes. And tell some friends too, so we can all hear more great stories together.